Well, hey everybody, good afternoon. My name is Art Tipaldi. I'm the editor of Blues Music Magazine. If you're not a subscriber, check us out either at Facebook, on our website, bluesmusicstore.com, or we're available in all Barnes & Nobles across the country. We're on their newsstands. We've got Vanessa Collier on this month's cover. If you're not a subscriber, you'll want to be a subscriber for the July issue. We have Robert Cray on the cover, and we're featuring Walter Trout, Debbie Davies, and Chris Kane in that issue. So that looks to be a real good one. Well, today we're here in Don Odell's studio to talk to one of the rising vocalists in the Boston blues scene, and that's Diane Blue. Welcome.
Thanks.
Coming out from Boston today. And I say rising star or rising vocalist because your last decade has been pretty amazing, if we can just sort of summarize it. 2011, you go down to the IBCs in Memphis and compete. Were you in solo, duo, or band?
Band.
Band. Because I know the Boston or Massachusetts Blues Society solo duo went to the finals. So you were in the band.
Right.
2 years later, you record I'd Rather Go Blind on a Ronnie Earl and the Broadcasters CD. 2 or 3 years after that, you become a member of the Broadcasters, the first female member ever. You've recorded 7 albums with Ronnie and the band, some as a guest, but most recently as a member of the Broadcasters. You've got 2 of your own CDs that have come out with a slew of New England guests on it. I don't want to embarrass you. In 2000, you got nominated last year for Contemporary Female Blues Artist of the Year, and that was probably on the heels of your 2020, 2019 recording, Look the Light. And this year, you're part of Ronnie's Rise Up CD, which was nominated for Traditional Blues Album of the Year and Album of the Year, total Album of the Year. So when have you stopped to pinch yourself over all this?
I don't take any of it lightly. I am so grateful for all of the good fortune that's come my way.
Yeah.
And I feel blessed to be able to share my voice and that it moves people in some way.
Yeah, yeah. What was the journey like to that 2011 IBC participation that you and your band did? You know, was it woodshedding at jams? Was it, let's even go back further. What was the learning process as a vocalist like as a young child?
Like a lot of people, I sang in the choir, but I was, no one will believe that I was really shy and I didn't know how to sing properly. I was never really formally trained.
Right.
So I couldn't project, and I never got any leads in the choir or anything. And that would frustrate me because I showed up all the time and I was on pitch, and why didn't they give me a chance? But I persevered. You know, in my adult life, I was 25 really before I knew that I had this, that I knew I wanted to share it. I was that I was confident enough to share it.
Right. What was that aha moment?
The aha moment was a friend of mine who plays guitar, who discovered that I could sing, and he forced me to go to my first jam, shaking like a leaf, and then he just continually encouraged me, and he gave me my first harmonica, and I taught myself from there. And just a few years ago, I discovered that I had a polyp in my throat.
That's right, yeah.
And that was from singing the wrong way. I sang for probably 5 or 6 years as the featured artist at the Cantab Lounge.
Right.
The infamous Cantab Lounge.
Where's
which
that?
Is Boston's best dive bar. It was voted in Cambridge, Mass.
Okay.
Yep. And I would just push it out, whether I had a cold or whether I was sick. And I had no monitors. I couldn't hear myself. It was just, it was a great scene.
Yeah.
It was a really great vibe.
Right.
But I was hurting myself.
Yeah.
And after my surgery, I learned how to sing right.
Did you go through lessons for that to learn how to sing, or was it a self-discovery?
Therapy, vocal therapy.
Okay.
And the therapist wasn't a singer, but I went to it just happened that I came upon a master class, a vocal master class, and I attended. And it was an Irish tenor who was doing it, but singing is singing.
Yeah.
And there were quite a few aha moments when
Wow.
when I went to that class.
For people out there who are watching this who might be vocalists in local bands or even some of the bands that you and I know and love, what are some of those techniques that you learned that you wish you knew earlier that you could share?
One of the most important things that I learned was that you have to warm up your voice first, because it's a muscle, like everything else. And I just thought, well, I'm a blues singer, and if it gets raspy, it's cool.
Yeah.
But it's not cool when you hurt yourself.
Yeah, right.
And the other thing is to let the breath do the work for you, and not to try to push from here. That's going to help you
Funny. I always use sports as my go-to analogies, and I play golf, and I always say, let the club do the work, not the shoulders and the body. And the minute you, just like you said, let your breath do the work.
Yeah, and to keep your airways open.
Right.
And so a lot of times when you're emoting, you know, you put your head down when it's a sad moment, but you're blocking your airways.
Right.
Always shoot for the bleachers.
Interesting. Well, I hope that helps some people out there. When did you start to discover blues singers? You said you were part of the church choir and the school, I imagine, choirs and things. When did blues and R&B and those vocalists sort of hit your ears?
When I was a kid, we had one of those giant console record players, and my sisters were into Gladys Knight. So I always have loved Gladys Knight. She's my very favorite vocalist ever. And I really didn't discover blues. We didn't have those kinds of records in my house. And, my brothers were into rock and Led Zeppelin and the Stones and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, there's blues in there.
Sure.
But I really discovered it after my friend Paul said, hey, why don't you sing something?
Yeah.
The first blues song I sang was Women Be Wise.
Oh, wow. Sippy Wallace.
Sippy Wallace.
Yeah. If Gladys Knight was in the early part, once you found the Sippy Wallace person, who did she lead you to and that you could take a little bit from?
Well, Sippy did a duet with Bonnie on that song. So I did listen to a lot of Bonnie Raitt.
Right.
And I really had more of an affinity to the soul singers.
Okay.
And that's me.
Right,
I
a lot of the people I speak with who are vocalists come from the church and the black gospel tradition, and they always talk about committing to the song. And I would imagine listening to the soul singers, that's probably something you were hearing.
Yeah, I think whether it's blues or soul or rock and roll, anything, you're telling a story, and you have to be authentic when you're telling the story. And even if it's not my story, I try to tell it with the most truth and the most authenticity that I can, as if it's my story, so that it comes from within.
Right. How long does it take you, a singer, to feel comfortable in that role of becoming the song?
Well, I think everybody's journey might be different. I think.
I should say, how long did it take you to be comfortable? After those first nights on the jam stage, when did you start to lose this?
Lose the shakies? I think when I rehearsed a lot more, when I became confident in what I was doing, when I didn't have to look at lyric sheets, when I stopped being nervous about people looking at me and being self-conscious about my curves and my double chin and my, my flaws. And just said, okay, I'm here to make people feel better.
Right. That's very cool. Yeah. I know guitar players, when they go to a jam or whatever, they're all glued on who's up there, and they're watching, whether it's Mike Welch or Ronnie Earl, and they're taking that lick home and they're practicing. What does a vocalist do too? When you're watching other vocalists, what are you picking up on that is going to help you, or that you say, now that's something I might want to try? because you can't see what they're doing really.
Right.
What?
The really soulful ones that really touch. I'm thinking of Anika Chambers right now.
Right.
When I first saw her at Chan's, we were trying to be really discreet and being in the corner, but I wanted to go and support her because I had heard about her.
Yeah.
Just her connection with the audience is amazing.
Right.
So watching how different vocalists connect with the audience, if they go off stage and wander around,
Right.
or if they, making eye contact is really important. Toni Lynn Washington is another one.
Yeah.
I learn from her every time I watch her.
Yeah.
She's just amazing.
Yeah, that's right. She's the queen of Boston blues.
Yes.
And well deserved. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So inflection is a lot, but your personality is really important.
Yeah. And just like a guitar player might hear a different way to phrase something, are you also picking up some different ways to phrase lyrics that maybe resonate with you as you sing or even as you write?
Yeah, I think I just kind of do that my own way, really. But I can appreciate the way other people do it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Cool. We've talked a little bit about the Boston scene. As a young performer, how nurturing is the Boston scene for a young blues singer as you were starting out?
The Boston blues family is amazing. It's like a family, really.
Yeah.
Anyone who's in that family knows that whenever anything happens to someone in that family, everyone just just like a pack comes to nurture and help.
Right.
And there are people who have personalities that are more difficult than others, but in general, I'll never forget the first jam that I went to. There was a woman on stage, and she just said, "Hey, let's do this one together." And I, okay, all right.
You don't know me, but that sounds good.
Yeah, it was great.
That's great.
And we've done some things where we've brought ladies of blues and soul together.
Oh, cool.
To perform together, and there's no cattiness, there's no jealousy, there's only respect for each other's craft.
That's great.
We sing each other's original songs, and we have a love fest. We just, really enjoy playing together.
Yeah.
Great.
Now, I was more closely involved with the Boston blues scene back in the '90s and early part of 2000s when you had, the hard rock. What am I thinking? You had the House of Blues, and you had some of the other clubs that were there. There's not a lot of clubs in the city, and now we've just lost Chan's, it looks like.
Yeah.
So with this wonderful family, where are some of are there enough outlets for people to get out and play?
Well,
and we're also in the COVID pandemic too.
This is a tricky question right now, especially.
That's right.
I stopped playing at places like the Cantab when I started to tour with Ronnie more.
Right.
More.
Yeah.
It was a career decision because people, why should they pay? I mean, okay.
Yes.
With Ronnie is the star.
That's right.
But by the same token, I would like to elevate my own career, and Ronnie's very supportive of that.
Yeah.
So I kind of got out of touch with where the jams are and what's happening.
Yeah. Are there club venues in the greater Boston area that a young performer can start out in still?
Well, I was playing places before the pandemic.
Yeah, let's go.
I was playing places like Chan's and maybe the Bull Run once in a while, and not in Boston. Everywhere I played was at least an hour to 2 hours outside.
Yeah.
New Hampshire.
Right. Is that Nine Walls? Is that?
Nine Wallace I played up in Beverly.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I can remember back in the mid to late '90s. There was a ton. There was the Yard Rock in Quincy, and then House of Blues, and what was the one down by the Fenway Park? Oh, I forget. On Alston Street.
A lot. A lot of these places were there before I even moved to Boston.
Yeah. Where did you move from?
I was living in Newport before.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I was a young urban professional.
Oh, well, there you go. So now you just mentioned Ronnie, and We love Ronnie up here in New England. I mean, he is one of our New England musical treasures,
He is.
and he's part of a long line of them. You know, how did that, how did that happen 2 years after an IBC thing?
It was kismet. That's
Yeah.
what we say.
And there's a song that you and Ronnie wrote. I think it might be the first one of your originals on a Ronnie Earl record.
Yep.
Kismet.
He
That's
asked
right.
me to write about it.
Really?
He did.
Nice.
So that's
Yeah.
what I wrote.
Yeah.
Really, it was I think 2009 was when I started to play with Roberto Morbioli
Oh yeah.
from Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And then subsequently, he invited me to Italy to do some club dates and some festivals. And when he would come to Boston, I would book some club dates. And at that time, I didn't have as much influence as I might now.
Yeah, right.
So I was just scrambling to put any dates together that I could to give him money
Yeah.
in his pocket
Yeah.
while he was here.
Yeah.
So we got this funny little gig at a place called Right Turn,
Okay.
which is a place for recovery for addicts.
Mhm.
It's, what do they say, creative solutions
Okay.
for addiction.
Yeah.
And so they used to put on concerts, and they hired us as a duo, Roberto and I. Prior to that, Roberto was interviewed in the Globe by Nate Dow,
Okay.
and Nate asked him, "Who is your biggest influence on guitar?" And he said, "By far, it's Ronnie Earl."
Right.
And it would be my dream to meet him.
Right.
So
Wow.
Ronnie showed up
Oh my gosh.
at Right
Yeah,
Turn
yeah.
that day
Right.
with his guitar
Yeah.
and sat in with us.
Yeah.
And Roberto was beside
Oh
himself.
God. Yeah. Yeah. Roberto, play
It
please.
was
Play.
amazing.
Yeah.
And Ronnie
Yeah.
took my card and he said, "I'm going to call you sometime."
Really.
And he did.
Wow. Wow. And when he called, did he call to ask you to sing with him or to come to be part of an album? I think.
The first few times he called, when he had a local gig, maybe at
Okay.
the Regent or there's a place over in Framingham,
Mm-hmm.
he would say, "I have a show and I can put you on the guest list,
Right.
and maybe you could sing a song with us." And I'd
Wow.
sing maybe one,
Yeah.
maybe two songs.
Mhm.
Sometimes he would just launch into a slow blues and
Yeah.
say, "Make up some words."
Yeah.
and
yeah.
and then one night he recorded live,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know.
Okay.
And that was the first song
Wow.
that went.
I'd
the-
rather
on the
go
record.
blind.
That was there.
Wow. So that's a live recording on that CD.
It
I'll
is.
have to go play that one again then.
It is.
Very
And I
cool.
had the most terrible cold,
Yeah.
and I was like, and I was drinking tea and
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
all my
yeah.
warm-ups outside,
Right,
and
right,
you know,
right,
oh,
right.
I
Oh
was
my
so
God,
nervous.
how beautiful. So now you're with Ronnie. You're recording. You're touring with him starting around 2015, and doing the. What's the connection? How would you describe the connection between like your voice and his guitar?
Ooh. It's really
I-
more than that.
Mhm.
It's the whole band is like, it's amazing
Yeah.
to
yeah.
be in the middle of that vibe.
Right.
To feel, Ronnie feels,
Yeah.
he emotes so much
Mhm.
through his guitar. And people have tried to copy his sound, and they don't get it, that it's not just his fingers, it's what's in his soul.
It is.
And I feel that.
Yeah.
And he pushes me
Mm-hmm.
to share more of the emotion that's inside of me.
Right.
He's made me a better musician.
Wow. That's yeah. I think he's touched a lot of people in that way.
Absolutely.
A lot. Do you think it was something in your voice that made him want to bring you along that others didn't have?
I think it's a combination of things,
Mhm.
because for Ronnie, a person's vibe is just almost as important as their musical ability.
Yeah.
So the band that he's built around him
Right.
is a safe zone. Everyone respects that he's an addict and has been in recovery for over 30 years.
Mhm.
Everyone has the utmost respect
Oh,
of his musicality and
Spirituality. Oh, yeah, yeah.
spirituality,
Mhm.
all of that.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big part of it, because I fit
Yeah.
that way.
Yes. That's cool.
And I think having me come on as a guest a few times, he started to feel what it felt like to have me on stage, and there is a connection.
Yeah.
There's definitely, he calls it a God thing.
Yeah.
Like he feels like it was a higher power that brought us together,
Absolutely.
and it was meant to happen.
That's right. Wow.
And I'm so grateful.
Oh, yeah, yeah. For our viewers who know Ronnie, and he gets into that 10, 15-minute slow blues where, you know, he is inside your chest and heart, ringing it. What's it like to be called on to sing the next song after that?
It's a little tricky to go after that.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
But, you know, we just do what we do and
Yeah,
do the best we can.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've seen him at the, I've seen him not 100, but a number of times. And the last time we saw him at the Iron Horse might have been 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah. And, you know, the Iron Horse does a 90-minute set. Ronnie doesn't.
Right.
Ronnie did a 2.5-hour set of all instrumentals.
Right.
And he didn't lose a person.
Never.
And you know, I'm sitting there and you look at your watch and you go, it's 10 o'clock. Where'd the last hour go?
You don't want it to end.
No, you don't.
No.
You don't. And he does what you said about making contact with people. He walks through the club and he lets each person feel where that's coming from. You're gonna get me to cry. And I have a feeling he knows somehow, godlike, he knows which person needs him at that moment.
I think that's his biggest goal when he has a concert. He doesn't call it a concert.
No.
He's playing what he feels, and he's there for healing purposes.
Yes. Yeah.
For himself
Yeah.
and for everyone who needs it.
That's right. It's been kind of nice to watch his rebirth, if you will, where he has gone back to Memphis for the Blues Music Awards. He has been feted there. He has been patted on the back. You've been there to see it. People who saw him 20 years ago now get a chance to come up and reconnect. He gets to play with his musician friends, you know, whether it's Anson or Little Charlie or whatever, and then he gets to go on tour and he plays the Tampa Bay Blues Fest. He goes out to Salt Lake City, you know, and I just feel like he's opened up a little bit, and he's being rewarded for that. He's being shown, we missed you. We love you. You know? Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. On I think the Blues for My Father album, you and Mike Ledbetter did a gorgeous duet on Higher Love. There's another beautiful soul.
Oh my.
So, and not only that, but you had to. I'm sure you watched Michael sing "All My Love." What's the effect of that on you? Being in the studio with Michael.
My first thought was that I was a little on the intimidated side because he is so powerful.
Yeah.
I'm saying he is because he's still touching us.
Yes.
And his vocal range is amazing.
Yeah.
He made me dig deeper when
Right.
he was standing this close to me. We had Ronnie does everything live in the studio.
Okay.
So the vocalists are there too.
Right.
You get one try.
Right.
Because there's no overdubbing.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
thought, oh my God, I get one try next to Mike Ledbetter.
Yeah.
I better bring it.
Yeah.
And that I think he made me sing better than I ever had at that point.
Right. And so now on Ronnie's new album, Rise Up, you do both of those songs again. What's the mindset when you're doing them 5 years later?
I can't copy him. I can't copy Otis. I can't.
Right.
I have to just do my thing.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at now is do your thing. Don't make anybody force you to dig deep.
Right.
Always dig deep.
Always dig deep. Very nice. besides now a Mike Ledbetter and an Anika, who are some of the young blues vocalists who have caught your ear?
I thought you were going to ask me the opposite question. Like, who were the veterans who I really like? Betty LaVette.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Well,
my
you
God.
you can just name some names. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I saw Betty a few times, and she gets me right here every
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
You know, when she makes the band go away and
Oh,
she
yeah.
sits like,
The
you
edge
know,
of the
crossing
stage.
her legs and just gut bucket.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
that gets me every
yeah,
time.
yeah.
I've always loved Mavis,
Oh
and
God.
I always will. I cover a couple of her songs.
Yeah, yeah.
As far as the up and coming ones,
Oh.
or the ones whoever have
Yeah,
emerged,
yeah.
Vanessa Collier is a force.
Yeah.
She's got it all, man.
Yeah.
She plays a little guitar.
Yeah.
She blows the heck out of that saxophone.
That's right. That's right.
She's beautiful,
Yep.
and you
Yeah.
know I'm happy for all of her success.
Good.
It's
Good.
great.
Yeah, yeah. Now you mentioned Mavis, and you said you cover a number of her songs. When on your 2 albums, you write about half and you cover about half. How do you choose a song to cover? What's some of the criteria for that?
It has to speak to me. I have to be able to deliver
Yeah,
the story.
yeah, yeah.
Sometimes if it goes with the theme, although I don't really know if I have themes
Right,
on my
right.
album.
Yeah.
For the last album, Lauren actually chose all of the songs
Okay.
for me, and I just said, okay, I like that one, I think that one's fun. I don't know, it's different every time.
Yeah. Would you say that you are more than strictly a blues singer, though? Would you more of an interpreter of songs,
Yeah.
soul, R&B, blues, gospel?
I think, to be fair, I think that I'm more of a soul singer
Okay.
who happens to do some blues.
Yeah, yeah.
And that works in the blues
That's
because,
Betty LaVette,
right?
Mavis Staples,
Right?
Irma Thomas.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Very good. Now, you're a somewhat of an oddity, if I can say that. There's not many blues singers, women singers, who also play harmonica. And now you play guitar, or have you always played guitar?
I've been playing since I was 12, but kind of I'm in the closet about it.
Okay,
I
okay.
don't feel confident enough
Yeah, yeah.
to play very much, so I
Right.
play the things that I know very
Yeah,
well.
Yeah. Do you get a chance to play harmonica in Ronnie's shows?
Once in a while,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do.
yeah.
It really depends if he's feeling it that
Right,
day.
right.
So I bring them in.
Yeah.
in
Does he
case.
give you a nod on the stage, or do you just sort of know, okay, if I do this, I'm not going to get the stink eye?
No, I don't pick it up until he asks me to,
Yeah, yeah. Good.
out of respect for him.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, Diane Blue, vocalist for Ronnie Earl and the Broadcasters, but also a solo artist in her own right, who last year in 2020 garnered a nomination from the Blues Foundation as Contemporary Female Artist of the Year. And you can check Diane out on her albums. The latest one, Look for the Light, but you can also check her out on the last 7 Ronnie Earl albums. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Yeah.